Hey there, welcome back. I know it's been a long time since I posted a lesson. I'm sorry, I haven't forgotten about you guys. I've just been really busy starting this new band, doing auditions, writing music, figuring out solos for my songs, just all that stuff that comes with, starting a band and writing your own material and not playing covers, improvising stuff and then trying to figure out what you improvised. So, thank you for bearing with me and thank you for still sticking around the channel. I promise more lessons are coming down the pipeline. I just wanted to share this Charlie Crockett tune with you, The Man from Waco. Pretty straightforward song, but it's got some cool things in it that we can analyze and use to improve our playing, our songwriting, our soloing, things of that nature. So let's start with, how do you figure out the key of a song, right? So the song has four chords. It has a B minor, and they're all triads. It's a country tune, so they're all triads. There's no seventh chords. So it starts with a B minor, goes to a D, and I'm just playing all open, cowboy chords because it's a country tune. It goes to G, back to D, B minor again, D, G, and then A, back to B minor. So we have a B minor, a D, a G, and an A. And those are all major. D major, G major, A major. So the quickest way to generally find out a key is to look for a dominant chord, right? There's only one dominant chord in a major key. So if you see a dominant chord, unless they're using like secondary dominance or something, a trick like that, it's like, oh, that's the key, right? There's the dominant chord, that's the 5, we must be in this key. Well, this is a country tune. You're going to see in a lot of country, Americana, early gospel, stuff like that, they don't use seventh chords. They just use triads. So we're not going to have a dominant seventh chord to distinguish the key. So we have to rely on the minor chords. And if you remember the lesson on the chords in a major key, we have 3 minor chords, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord. And the 6 is called the relative minor of the key because it shares like 3/4 of its chord tones are shared with the major chord of the key. So it's kind of about 50%. When you see a song that starts with a minor chord, and so it's therefore called a minor key, it's still in a major key, okay? The key center is still going to be major. It's just the song is being played based off the relative minor, or based off the 2 chord, or based off the 3 chord. So it's a minor key, okay? So 50% of the time, I would say it's going to be the 6 chord, the relative minor. And you may have like a regular 1-4-5 progression that just also has a 6 in there. 1-6-4, 1-5-6, things like that. The other 50% of the time, I would say 40% of it is going to be the 2 chord. Tons and tons and tons of songs are 2-5-1. 2, 5, 1. Tennessee Whiskey, incredibly popular song. Everybody's heard it. People love it. It's 2-5-1. Okay. Some songs you will hear songs that start on a 3 chord. I do that all the time because I like playing Phrygian and I like doing modal kind of stuff. So I will write songs that use the 3 chord as their basis for like the verse. This song, we have a B minor, right? So the first thing I did was say, well, if it's a B minor, I'm betting it's the 6. Let's see if it's the 6 chord. So if you just count up from B, 3 steps, right? B, C, D, now we get to the root, right? And if you count from D up 6 steps, D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay? So B is the relative minor of D. So that tells us this song is in the key of D. Well, how can we prove that? How can we verify that? In the key of D, the 3 major chords are D major, the 1, G major, the 4, and A major, the 5, the triad. It's not A dominant 7. It's just A major. But it's the 5. It's the 5th chord. So what we have is a 6, 1, 4, 1, 6, 1, 4, 5. And you hear how that 5 kind of brightens up the progression, right? Instead of going just from the 6 to the 1 to the 4, back to the 1. The 6 to the 1 to the 4 to the 5. And also that 5, right, is a whole step below the 6, A to B. So it's a nice linear movement. Instead of jumping from the D back to the B, or going from the G to the B, we're just going straight from that a whole step below. It's almost like a passing tone to go from the 5 to the 6. Okay? So let's kind of look at the rhythm. We've looked at the progression. The rhythm is pretty straightforward. It's like down, down, up, down. And then there's another downstroke and kind of a ghost note. I'll try to lean back so you can see my right hand. That's the basic rhythm. The intro to the song, there's a little, it goes from G to A, and then to D, right? Because D is our root note, right, of our key. And then it echoes that an octave lower, but it descends. It goes from open A to B, and then it does 4 bars of the B minor for an intro. And then it starts with the B minor and then goes to B minor, D, G. And so the progression, I'll just do it one more time, I'll play through it. B minor, D, G, D, B minor, D, G, A, B minor, D, G, back to D, B minor, D, G, back to D, and then hold a B minor, and that's where the chorus, the man from Waco, and then there's a real simple, just open A to B, B again, A, B, open D, and then into the next verse. The city is almost silent as he passed the humming signs on the corner. He heard laughter, made him afraid of what he'd find. Right? So that's basically the whole tune, right? Pretty straightforward. One minor chord and a bunch of open major chords. If you're not familiar with a lot of open chords, like if you do more like riff-based stuff or a lot of power chord kind of stuff, one thing you may find challenging is going from the D, this open D, to the closed B minor. It's real easy to go from the D to the G to the A, right? All those open chords are really just it's easy to move from open to open and closed to closed positions, but it's a little trickier to go from open to closed because you have to shift your hand. Because when you're playing open, your thumb is kind of a little higher up on the neck, and your hand is kind of angled kind of that way to get this D chord, right? It's just kind of angled like that. And where you're going from this D is to the B minor. So you've got to bring your hand around, land on that B minor, and grab all the notes for the minor triad. So you're going from this, like that, over to this. So I even had a little difficulty with that because I don't play a lot of open chord stuff. And so I had to really slow down. And if this happens to you, it's fine. It's normal whenever you're learning a new song that has a chord progression that you're not used to. So just slow down. And as we talked about in the lesson on practicing, practice the thing that you're not good at. And so I wasn't good at making the transition from the D to the B minor. So I just played D to B minor over and over and over again. And before I could even do that, I was still having trouble. I just kind of omitted the D and just held my hand in an open position like this. Didn't worry about playing the D. And then just made the physical transition to land on a perfect B chord, right? To take my hand from this position, turn it, plant the root, and then come down with the other fingers. And I just went from that motion, from there to there, there to there. Because that's what you're doing. You don't really, it doesn't matter if you're playing that chord, right? The D before it. You're just going from this hand shape and this angle to a more horizontal angle on a closed chord. So just practice, break down what you're having a hard time with, and just practice the minute movement that is giving you trouble. And that's how you fix it. So let's take a look at, there's a little trumpet solo in this song. It's a very south of the border, Charlie Crockett's from Texas, and I'm from New Mexico, so I love this kind of music, this kind of south of the border, kind of Mexican flavored, Latin flavored, Spanish inspired melodies and stuff. And you hear a lot of trumpets in like mariachi music and Spanish traditional music or Mexican traditional music and stuff. And so he has a trumpet solo in this tune. And it's an easy, melodic, short solo, so I wanted to go ahead and learn it by ear so I could show it to you guys and we can analyze it. I've said before I don't learn a lot of solos by ear. I prefer to improvise and apply my own note choices. But this was something that was so simple and you could sing it. And I wanted to do a little ear training anyway, so it was a perfect opportunity to learn something by ear and share it with you guys. So the solo, it's not even a solo, it's more of a theme, okay? And it happens twice. It'll go verse, chorus, and then there's the theme, and then it goes verse, chorus, theme again, and then the song ends. So it's after the second time that happens, the man from Waco. And then I'll play it and then I'll explain it to you. So there's that same thing from the beginning, that right, we're just going down to the 5, the 5 of the B, this F sharp. Okay. So let's take a look at that little solo. It's B minor pentatonic mixed with B Aeolian mode. So it gets at that, remember I've spoken before about the modes and how when you use modes to break out of pentatonic, you get a more specific tonality. And in this case, we're using the 6th chord, right, the relative minor, which means we're using the Aeolian mode, the natural minor mode, which in this case would be B natural minor. So those are the notes that we're using, along with B minor pentatonic. Okay. So the solo begins on the 4th to the 5th to the minor 7th to the octave. And it kind of holds as a little vibrato. 4, 5, minor 7, octave. And it has a little hammer-on kind of trill, hammer-on pull-off. Octave back to the 7th. And it's going to go up to the minor 3rd. 7, root, minor 3rd on the B string. So it's going root, 3rd, root, and then back down. So far we've stayed in the minor pentatonic. Here's where we're going to add the 6th from the natural minor. If we were just going to stay in pentatonic, we would go right and land on the 5th. But we're going to land on the minor 6th. Right? Different tonality. A little more kind of Mexican, Latin, south of the border flavor. And then come down to the 5th. So same kind of hammer on pull off to the 5th. Okay, so one more time through that solo, or the theme, whatever we're calling it. 4th, 5th, minor 7th, root. Hammer onto the root, back to the 7th. 7, root, minor 3rd. Down to the minor 6th. Down to the 5th. 7, root, 3rd. back into the rhythm. So one of the things I wanted to show you with the solo is how it relies on chord tones as its target notes. You know, in the probably the very first, or I think the second lesson I posted on this channel was an introduction to soloing, some basic soloing concepts. And I introduced the concept of soloing by landing on chord tones or just using chord tones to develop your solos. Because you'll always be right. They're always going to fit the chord that's being played, as opposed to just playing a scale. Scales have things like seconds and fourths and sixths that aren't chord tones. They're color tones. So they don't have the harmonic gravity that a chord tone has when it lands on a chord being played. You'll also notice that a lot of songs, I mean a lot of songs, the melody, the vocal melody, is often made up of thirds and sevenths of the chords. The bass plays the root and the fifth, and the melody instruments tend to play the threes and the sevens. And so by soloing or playing melodies and making chord tones, especially the threes and sevens, your target notes, you're going to have a more interesting, sophisticated melodic sound. So let's take a look at this little solo, right? It starts on the fourth, right? A color tone, passing tone, right? And it goes 4, 5, minor 7, chord tone, octave, chord tone, right? The 1. Back to the 7, right? Hear that movement from the 7 to the 1. To the 3, 1 to the minor 3. All of that whole passage. It's all 7 root minor third. All chord tones. Now here's where they break out of that and they go to the 6. Down to the 5. 7 root, 7 root, 3, all chord tones. So hear how it sounds melodic, right? It's the melody of the tune. It echoes the vocal melody that happens in the song. So it's whoever played this solo, this trumpet player, and he's got a fantastic guy. I think his name is Fox something. Who's like a legend in Texas, a legendary musician who plays like piano and guitar and trumpet. And he'll play trumpet with one hand and piano with the other. And I'm pretty sure that's who probably played this solo and wrote this solo. So, you know, a fantastic musician who knew, base it off the vocal melody, right? Stick to the chord tones. And if you're going to go outside of the chord tones, add something cool like the minor sixth. Right? Get out of that pentatonic sound and add a little bit of the mode. That sixth is a great little tone, right? So that's the nutshell, or the solo in a nutshell. And I just really wanted to hit home on using chord tones and the importance of chord tones in building solos and melody lines. Okay, straightforward, simple tune. Right? But we got a chance to look at how do we determine the key, right? Especially if we don't have a dominant chord to spot the key for us. So we use the minor chords to tell us what it is. And in this case, it's the trusty 6th chord, the relative minor. You're going to see that in tons and tons and tons of tunes. Use that in your own songwriting, right? And we saw a very typical progression, 6 to the 1. Right? If you go back and look at the Charlie Crockett tune Wreck Me, I don't have a capo on. It was in like C sharp. I'll just play it in C. Um, it was C to A minor, which is the 1 to the 6. 1, 6, 1, 6. This song we're playing 6 to 1. 6, 1, 6, 1, right? 6, 1, 4, 1, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 1, 6, 1, 4, 1. So that's part of ear training, right? Is learning how chords move, the root movements, the 6 to the 1 to the 4 to the 5, back to the 6 or whatever, and get used to singing them. And if you can sing something, then that means you own it in your head. And if you can sing it and play it at the same time, you can improvise it. You own that piece of musical material, and you can draw on it at will whenever you want. And it's not just something you practice isolated during your 30-minute practice session, and it's not something you can apply in your real musical playing. Sing what you play, sing what you practice, sing root movements, sing solos, right? Ooh, 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 right? And you'll start developing a connection between your hands and your ears and the intellectual gray matter up there that decides, I know all these chords, I know all these scales, I have all this information up here. What do I play? What do I apply? Your ear will tell you, I'm playing the 6. Oh, I want to go to the 1. That's where I want to go. So I'm going to go 1. I hear it in my head. Or I'm playing the 6 and I want to go to the 4. I hear it in my head. 4, 6. Right? So by singing what you're playing, you make the connection between your hands and your ears and your mind, which frees you up to apply the music that you practice in real time in your playing. Thanks for stopping by. I hope this lesson was helpful. Have a good one.